We're going to do this tonight. I'm going to do the best I can to.
You gotta love it when a plan doesn't come together.
This, and tonight was the first night we did not go to the test broadcast page.
I know. We jinxed it. Because everything seems to go together so well. Let's.
We're going to do this tonight. I'm going to.
There we go.
You guys all fixed up?
I think so. I think everybody can hear us again. Hang on.
Are we all here? We start over.
I don't think we should start over. It's not a Fanboys 918 event if we don't have some problems. I think we roll with it.
Roll with it. So,
if you like to do the intro again,
okay.
I can. The welcoming. Oh, there we go. I can hear you now.
We got it. So anyway, as we've said,
there we go.
It's not a Fanboys 918 broadcast if we don't have something going on. And I knew it had to be something because everything had gone perfect up to this point. So anyway, as we've mentioned before, it's our goal to exceed our 500 follower mark by the end of the year. So I'd like to exceed $500 too, but not in this economy. So anyway, we're asking if you like what we do, please leave a like, subscribe, and share our content if you're so inclined. And also, while our main presence right here is on Facebook right now, we also have a YouTube channel that serves as a bit of a repository, not suppository.
Exactly.
For these broadcasts as well as for our more produced segments. So please subscribe to that as well. I didn't mean that to be a joke when I wrote it.
Well, like most things come out of your mouth, it's always a joke. So
that's right. Wow. Okay.
Wow. We're just going to go there early. And
coming from the IT geek who face planted when it came to getting us all ready to go.
Hey, man. See, you're making Pistol mad. He's over here barking at you. Like, stop picking on my daddy.
Listen. So anyway, one of the things we've set a goal to do, thank you, sir, is to kind of increase our programming in the coming weeks, both with sound and without. And we've got some programming in the pipeline from the Wonder Midget and Jay the Blues Man. Right. We have some stuff in the pipeline from the commander of the Northern 918 Command Post himself, Mr. Narwhal. We're also fortunate enough to have some of that new programming that's already dropped last week. And to tell us about that is the man joining me in the chat tonight. He is the Archduke of the operating system, the Senior Fellow of Network Security, the Wizard of Windows, the keyboard of his katana. However, sound is not his forte. That would be the IT Geek. Welcome to the chat, sir.
I just don't even know how to follow that type of introduction other than, look, hey, you're hearing us now. So apparently, we're only, 8 minutes into the programming, and we're there. So I got it there.
And it's it is out of the way now. So
exactly. So anyway,
I call you by my name.
This is true. So no, thanks for that great intro. It's always fun to hear you rad that off and how you do that so well and eloquently and without alcohol. I just don't know how you do it. So
it is a change.
I bet it is. So anyway, back to the content that you were talking about.
Yes.
That's right. Our good friend Mr. Goldar here has actually dropped on Saturday, started last Saturday. We're going to try to keep the ball rolling on it as our new Fanboys 918 Nightcrawlers episode. So basically, he is currently playing a video game, Resident Evil 3, where he just takes about 30 minutes, walks through the game with you, gives you some content, and basically just get to watch and play the game and everything. And so I watched it the other day. It's some cool stuff. The game is really high definition, so it's real fun to watch. And I hope everyone is following. We had, I think, up to about 77 views on it. So last time I checked, so that's always great. So make sure you follow Mr. Goldar during his stuff. And then we've got other content, like Geek Boys said, that we're trying to develop and get out there to you. So, thanks for tuning in and supporting us.
Absolutely. So we have several stories we want to discuss tonight. Like I said, we kind of use this little piece of programming to kind of recap the big news of the week, if you will, if there is any.
Right. And we should also put a little caveat on the fact that we all understand that the environment is kind of keeping that news limited. Yeah. There's not a whole lot. For us to keep feeding the public and everything. So we appreciate everyone's patience and understanding when there's maybe just not some content to do an episode, because we just don't want to get on here and talk at you just to make you listen to our voice, because I think after that we would just scare some people away. So we like to make it interesting and fun.
Correct. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Now, I mean, I have considered. There's been weeks I've considering. Well, maybe I should just run down my Netflix list this week. But,
exactly. Hey, I should congratulate you that you actually finally finished watching The Witcher.
I did.
It's about time. It's about time. So.
I've been busy, sir. I've had all kinds of stuff to do, saving the world as we know it and whatnot. Right, I will say my comment about The Witcher, and I'm not going to do any kind of spoilers or anything that. But my comment that I made to you initially when I was about halfway through, I stand by it, which is, I don't know if it was any good, but it was damn sure entertaining.
And I think a lot of people out there would agree with that statement and stuff like that. So go ahead.
Whenever it started to get boring, I could always count on some TNA to move across the screen.
Oh yeah. I didn't know you liked Henry Cavill that way, but he seems to do it for some people. So I'm glad to hear that.
Hey, Linda Williamson has joined in our post.
Who?
Glenda Williamson.
Great.
Hopefully she joined after we have sound.
Okay, so, I'm quite sure she did. But, you're going to have to, because I don't see her in the chat right now.
I did say, hi, Glenda. How are you doing? So, and that's something else that, if there's any Facebook wizards out there, let us, how we see everybody. You know what we're going to find out is that bullet or pistol?
Oh, that's Pistol.
He has the answer. He's been trying to tell us for weeks. We just can't speak his language. So
that's exactly right.
Anyway, it was funny. We were making jokes about Netflix and being stuck in the house. The first story we want to open with is I saw a story earlier this week that Regal Cinemas is actually reopening.
That's right.
They're getting ready to reopen with some new guidelines to kind of ease everybody in. I think one of the things they're going to do is they're going to sanitize the theaters after every showing.
Right, that's correct. So I actually printed off their little guidelines and everything. So to kind of go over it, basically the employees will sanitize every auditorium and seat after every movie, and they're using some type of new electrostatic fogger equipment. So it's supposed to be really quick. They come in, they can spray everything in the auditorium, and it's very quick drying, and is pretty effective. Now, they can't guarantee that it'll render every potentially coronavirus infected particle in the air obsolete, but you got to give them some credit by the sense that they're trying to make it as safe and fun and get people back in the seats as soon as possible and stuff. So,
well, absolutely. I mean, they can't survive without this. They want this.
No.
Them and the restaurants want this to be over.
Oh yeah,
than anybody else.
Yeah, and also with those theaters that do have that restaurant service and stuff, that is another thing they're doing is that basically they are suspending all those services for the time being. So if you could order food and everything like that, such as the Regal and stuff, that will be suspended. Now the walk-up bars will still remain in service, so you can still go there and get a drink and everything.
Thank God for that.
I know. But yeah, they are suspending all the food and beverages and popcorn and soda or pop and drink refills are being suspended. So if you buy the large, you do not get refills.
Wow. So, and that's interesting because that's a pretty big selling point for them. And as someone who used to work at a movie theater back in the day, I think The Golden Child was playing with the theater when I was working at it. But that's where the theaters get the bulk of their revenue is concessions, man. And that's to have to modify that model is can't be easy for these folks. So
no, I agree. I mean, that's one thing. I don't know. Do you think they'll actually jack up prices? And I guess this is actually a good. This is one of the good talking point is that how do you think this opening is going to affect people coming? What we already know. So let's kind of run down the guidelines and we can jump into what our thoughts on everything like that.
By the way, I see Mr. Terex just joined us. Hello there.
Hello, Tarek. I heard he actually went for a run.
Goldar is in the house.
Tarek went for a run earlier in this heat, so he may be maybe suffering from heat stroke at this point. So hope he's doing all right. Make sure you consume water. Absolutely. And hydrate, not with just alcohol. So, okay, so basically a couple of the guidelines. As we already spoke, they're going to do the electrostatic fogger equipment. They are going to amp up their contactless payment. So basically not trying to discourage payment with cash, paying with like your Apple Pay card or credit cards. Basically, this is cool. The theater the employees will undergo daily healthy screenings, including temperature checks, and be required to wash their hands at least once per hour. So, so that's good. Yep. They're actually going to have greeters posted in the lobbies to actually discuss the new protocols and how things now operate and flow. So I think that's a good idea as well. It helps kind of smooth things over when people are trying to come through. And then, of course, we've already talked about the concession stands and what their policies and stuff are. So knowing how, like you said before, you being formerly an employee, way back,
yes,
when they used to serve the Brontosaurus burgers and stuff.
Very tasty, by the way.
How do you think this will affect moviegoers? Do you think we're going to all be flocking back to the theater as quickly as possible? Do you think there'll be caution? And knowing what we just saw in the news, where people were dying to get out to bars and everything, and what do you think? Do you think that will have any effect of where people go for movies and such?
For whatever reason, I'm not going to be able to call this one because, as you know, Mrs. Geek Boy, the turtle gal, she works in the dental field, and they reopened on May 1st. And I said, well, you're going to be home in 2 hours because, that's not what I'm dying to do while I'm locked up, is get out and go to the dentist. I'll be damned. They've been covered up. She has worked like 10, 12-hour days since they've started back.
It's funny you say that is because after they reopened, my dentist contacted me, and I'm like, when can I get in? Because I want to get my teeth taken care of and getting them and clean and everything. So I was one of those crazy people that, like, as soon as they open, like, when can I get in? And like they had me in a couple of weeks.
I just wouldn't think of if I could go do anything. The dentist would not be my first pick. But on the other hand, she and I went out to a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and it was dead. It wasn't even 50%. And speaking of that, I don't know if people are going to flock back to theaters or not. I think it's going to be kind of an easing back in. I did see in that same article that we were pulling the guidelines from, they did say that one of the things they're doing is they're shifting auditorium size or the crowd sizes down 50%.
Right.
So they're going to block off seats and whatnot. And which makes me wonder, kind of like we said with the concession thing, maybe they are going to raise prices because I've noticed some of the restaurants have raised prices.
Yep.
Makes me wonder, are they going to add a couple of showings? Is the first showing going to be at 9 o'clock in the morning and the last one going to be at midnight?
Right. I agree. And what's kind of weird, or not weird, I'm wondering is sometimes the seats don't have an even number. So, are they going to be blocking them off by pairs? How does that really going to affect when, say, like you and, or kind of just you, Turtle Gal, and Bullets wanted to go see a movie, where three of you guys are together and you can't get together. What does that look like? And
at the house of worship that we attend, we had to do a similar type thing. And instead of just picking seats arbitrarily, we would ask how many people are in your party, escort them to seats, and then whenever they sat down, then we would leave 2 blank seats by them. So essentially, no matter how many people, now again, you still have to manage the crowd. Like you can't still let them go sit in the middle of the row. Like, sorry, dude, if you do, you're killing 2 seats on either side of you. You have to sit. You're gonna have to fill from one side over or whatnot. But and which brings me to another point. Now, this article that we got the guidelines from, it was posted by Slash Film, which is a site that we use a lot. I was a little disappointed because I felt the article had a little bit too much editorializing in it. I don't disbelieve the guidelines by any means, but the guy who wrote the article was coming at it from a very negative standpoint. He wasn't going to be back in theaters and thought only crazy people would. And he said these new guidelines are just invitations to people to be belligerent, start arguments. I don't agree with that. I can't speak for the bigger cities in the country, but right here in the 918, even though everybody has a varying degree on how serious and how big of a deal this is, nobody thinks it's not real, and everybody I've seen has been accommodating, no matter what they've been asked to do. I mean,
I agree. I mean, there is, in my personal opinion, I think there is an excitement to bringing these openings back and allowing people to get out into public again and enjoy the atmosphere that we've been kind of, well, we're not kind of, we've been forced to be separated from. Right. And I'm hoping, and of course, the excitement can become overwhelming and just people just flock to it and run to it and stuff. But I think with the theater, I think it's a little bit more, it's different in the sense that you're going there for almost some privacy, some intimacy, some, just to have a pleasurable experience. To me, going to a bar is different. It's, I think it's similar to going to a restaurant where we have already said that attendees are it's very sparse, and I think the theaters will be very much like the dining facilities in the sense that people will go, they'll want to have a good time, but I don't think they'll be driving back in hordes to attend the theaters. I think there'll be some incubation time before we see them really start to really come out, and I think it also has to do with the movies that are going to be released.
I was going to say, in order to get people in theaters, you got to have something to show, and the way things were tracking. Of course, we posted several stories about movies that had been moved and pulled and whatnot. But for a while, it looked like that probably almost a little over a month from today, that if we wanted to, we were going to go see Tenet. Right. And I don't think that's going to hold. What do you? That was going to be the next article we were going to talk about, which was from Cosmic Book News, which, by the way, those guys do great work over there. If you're not familiar with it, it's one of the lesser known sites. They do very minimal editorializing, and we take a lot of, but they do some. So we still have to screen the stuff we post, but they do a lot of great stuff over there, and they did post an article that even now. Some movies are being moved, and I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised that Tenet's release date of July 17th did not hold. It's been pushed back to July 31st. Why they seem to be moving in increments, I don't know if it has something to do with Christopher Nolan's contract. But Nolan is a bankable director who can put butts in seats with non-sequel original IP. He did it with Inception. He did it with Dunkirk. And they're hoping he can do it again with Tenet. So I'm going to kind of turn it to you. Do you think people are going to turn out for Tenet?
I think so. And like you said, I think it was. I think it's because it is a Nolan movie, and people are really hyped about it. And I think it will actually be the test movie to see how it brings in the public viewers. Rhonda Potts just joined us. Rhonda Potts Hensley.
Hello there.
So hello there. Thanks for joining in. So yes, I think this will be the gateway movie to let us know where we stand in our movie going atmosphere. And I think it's going to be a phenomenal movie to be that, because I think it's going to have a huge draw. I mean, it's got Rob Pattinson in it, several other great actors and actresses and stuff in it. And so and
the trailers look phenomenal.
They do. Oh, well, I mean, come on. I mean, Inception looked phenomenal from the trailer and everything like that. And we all know how the Turtle Gals love of that movie.
Well,
I love that movie.
She has a chip on her shoulder with Nolan anyway.
What'd you say?
Uh-oh.
Hang on. I just had a comment from the seats from the Queen. What'd you say?
Yeah. I appreciate that you called Rob Pattinson a good actor.
She's making a proclamation that she appreciated my saying of Rob Pattinson's a good actor and stuff. So, well, apparently it had to be. You heard that?
It's recorded.
Well, that has yet to be seen from me, but I've only seen him in a couple of the Twilight movies, so I don't have a huge Robert Pattinson doesn't have a deep bench from my experience, but here's the thing. I was looking at another article about an hour before we went on from Scott Mendelson at Forbes, who is another I have a love-hate relationship with Scott Mendelson. I'm really not a big fan of his, but yet I read every article he publishes. So what's that tell you about me? He's positing that Tenet's going to be a sacrificial lamb, that the movie's going to be a sacrificial lamb, to see if it works or not. Much like we had the theory that Trolls World Tour would be a sacrificial lamb, to see if video on demand would be sustainable for some of these films.
Right.
And I respectfully disagree with him on that, because Tenet cost $225 million to make.
It's just a gamble. It's just a gamble.
And probably at least that much to market.
Yes.
And so I cannot see Warner Brothers not really. I mean, they may not be happy with the environment they're releasing it in, but in other words, but getting something out of it's better than sitting a $250,000 asset on a shelf and doing kind of like what we'll probably talk about again when we get to No Time to Die.
Yeah.
But I mean, Warner Brothers they can't just not real. I mean, we're kind of at that, a few weeks ago when we talked about who needs more, the theaters or the studios, when you and me and Mr. Narwhal. I think right now they're kind of both tied to each other, saying one jumps, we all jump. I mean, the theaters can't survive without the studios. Yeah,
I agree. Eli just joined us. Want to welcome Eli real quick.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
So, no, I agree. I mean, a lot of these big budget movies that they've had scheduled to release this year, having to move their dates, move between weeks to months, and even some of them even into 2021.
Yeah, Fast 9 went to 2021, I think. Yeah.
Well, you got to even think Godzilla versus King Kong got moved to 2021.
Yeah, and now that worked out somewhat surreptitiously because Matrix 4, I believe it took Matrix 4 slot. Well, because of COVID. Or the beer bug or whatever we're calling it this week,
right?
They had to shut down filming, so that movie wasn't going to be ready. So that kind of worked out okay. I mean, not for profitability, but at least they didn't have to rejigger the schedule anymore. They just swapped with a movie that wasn't going to be done. Wonder Woman 84 has moved around quite a bit.
It has, and I think is one of the movies that everybody's just can't wait to see due to its high popularity from its first one. Mm-hmm. To have this keep moving around and then basically landing on October 2nd of this year. I mean, it's good to have a date, but man, I think everyone is just chomping at the bit to get in to see this movie. And, I don't know. I know I'm going to go see it. Let's put it that way. If the theater's open, I'm going to see it. COVID be damn. I'll risk it for Gal Gadot. I ain't going to lie. Because I owe her a lot.
Especially an apology.
Exactly. If I could ever meet her, I'm going to apologize.
But anyway. So, you mentioned about Kong versus Godzilla moving from November 20th to May. Vacating that November date, I can imagine the one people that are applauding that are the Broccoli's, because I think that vacates that whole back half of that month for No Time to Die, assuming that it opens.
Correct. So according to that article, basically No Time to Die is now set for November 20th, which was originally going to be the Thanksgiving weekend of the 25th. But because Godzilla versus King Kong got moved, it now is actually it's moved to that 20th date and everything. And in hindsight, I wish they would have kind of kept it on that Thanksgiving Day weekend. I think they would add a huge. I mean, that would have been a huge weekend because, a lot of people take, you got that Thursday off. Most people or some people have that opportunity to either have Friday off or they take a vacation Saturday and Sunday. You get tired of eating turkey and sitting in the house all day. It's like, let's go catch a movie. And
I'm tired of sitting in the house all day now.
I know. So I really think I would have kept No Time to Die on that Thanksgiving Day weekend. So I'm kind of curious why, other than just hoping to get it out a week earlier to get more viewing, but
that's okay. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they're looking at, hey, I think they were hoping that the Godzilla versus Kong didn't suck all the air out of the room for a week. Yeah. Now they've got an extra week. I think it's good business. They back it up, especially if the movie's well received, which we all hope that it will be.
Oh yes.
If it's well received, I can see them very easily dominating the box office for 2 weeks in a row. And as we discussed, MGM needs that. They need this movie to do well and do well in a big way.
Right. Now, I know we brought up Matrix 4 and everything, but I don't think we actually gave the release date yet, or the pending release date. So as of right now, Matrix 4 is due to release April 1st of 2022, according to that article. So that is really far off. So
yeah,
I'm like, how can you, to me, I'm like, in this state, why even make a proclamation of 2022 of its release? I mean, I don't know.
Well, and it's kind of funny you should say that. I mean, they've got to do something because these are all movies that are in active development.
Yeah.
What I'm finding interesting are every once in a while we'll see an article drop about such and such, so and so signs to star in this movie that's going to start filming. Them like kind of hedging our bets, aren't we, guys? I mean, I mean, because and we've talked about this before, and I know that if Mr. Narwhal were here, he would second this. The way Hollywood finances its films now is so different than they did 20 years ago. All these movies are made with borrowed money.
Oh yeah,
every one of them. I mean, no one studio has $225 million laying around to go make one movie. Right. And so you've got to just think, okay, they've got a shelf full of stuff they can't release, and they're wanting to make more. It's like, okay, let's move the inventory a little bit here, guys. I mean. Because as we've also discussed many times, Wonder Woman 84, No Time to Die, even Matrix 4. No, these movies are not designed for a video on demand type release.
No. When you bring that up, though, it's funny. And it's, we're getting this date available because Wonder Woman 84 did get moved, but it seems to be a pretty highly anticipated movie, and that is none other than Bill and Ted Face the Music. That is scheduled for August 14th of this year. Again, that was originally going to be Wonder Woman 84's time slot, so they bumped that into that one. And so it's just kind of weird not weird. It's kind of funny to see all this hype around Keanu Reeves with his John Wick movies, his Matrix 4 coming out, and everything, and then seeing him kind of fall back to the thing that like made him, I guess, famous. Is the Bill and Ted stories, and I don't know. Of course, I'm going to go see this. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not going to spend no director suite or this will be a Sunday matinee for sure.
Seeing how you can't get any booze in the auditorium anyway, you might as well just do it.
Well, that's true. So, so you got a pregame for that one because basically thinks if you've got someone that has their medicinal card, maybe you partake.
There you go.
Have a little fun there. So, I don't know, but I've seen I've seen the trailer for it. They're bringing back Death, Bill and Ted. And this premise is that they still haven't written the song that was supposed to unite the world and everything. So
I should say so. They've done it. If they have, they did a terrible job of it.
I know. Yeah. Well, according to the trailer, they decide to go to the future, to find out the song that they write and steal it from themselves to bring it back to write the song. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool and funny as a plot twist there. So I'm gonna go see it. I think it sounds funny as hell. So I want to see it. So
yeah. So speaking of things getting moved and things changing and shifting, you talked about Wonder Woman 84 and how you anticipate that no matter what date they release that on, it's going to do well because there's just so much pent up goodwill from the first one, which is kind of an awkward way to dovetail into the next topic, which is popular. We saw Wonder Woman do well. We saw Aquaman do incredibly well. We know that they're making a new Batman movie, and there's been a huge groundswell for Henry Cavill to come back and get at least one more shot of Superman. All this, there seems to be a lot of DC in the news right now. The Marvel Cinematic Universe seems to be kind of fading into the distance, probably because they don't have anything releasing right now, and honestly, their Phase 4 slate looks pretty weak in my opinion. But not all the news around DC is good. Another article posted by our friends at Cosmic Book News. DC's parent company, AT&T, which also owns Warner Brothers and several other things, they are selling their gaming division.
Yep.
And the article posits that the next thing on the chopping block could be DC Comics.
Yes. Before we get too far into that, let's throw a quick, a shout out to Danny O'Neill, who passed away this week. And if you don't know who he is an artist for basically that wrote for DC or drew for DC. Drew Batman, Green Lantern, some of the Green Arrow stuff. If you're an old comic book guy like myself, Green Lantern, Green Arrow were not strong characters by themselves originally, and so they actually teamed them up, and it became the Green Lantern, Green Arrow series for quite a while in the comic books. But he passed away this week, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends that were close to him, and we just wanted to pay our respects. It's artists and people like him that kind of we grew up with and made us who the fans that we are, and so we just wanted to make sure we paid our respects to his passing.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up. I saw that in the news feed, and I meant to say something about it. I'm glad you remember to do that, and I think it's telling again that you pointed out that he is responsible for one of the greatest team ups in comic history, which was that run he did with Green Lantern and Green Arrow.
Exactly.
And to me, that was probably one of the biggest missed opportunities of the Arrow show.
I know.
They kept dancing around that Diggle was going to end up being a Green Lantern, and because him and Oliver were typically at odds on things, that that's what they're moving toward. They're moving toward the Green Arrow, Green Lantern.
I know. It was man. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, especially when they explained it. So if you've ever seen the show, spoiler alert. Not obviously. What it was is they were on a world on one of the Earths that basically John did not ever get the ring, but they had a story where you met his stepfather, which was Colonel Stewart, and he just never took his stepfather's name. Otherwise, he would have been known as John Stewart, and that would have done it. So there's actually been some talk about how to work him in, like on some other stories where he is Green Lantern and stuff. I don't know. I mean, that's going to require a huge budget, though, with the constructs that he could do with the ring, I think, personally. And I just don't know where that budget would land, but that's not the topic we were talking about. Nope, so we'll move away from there. So
but we are talking about budgets and money, and that's one of the reasons that's driving these sales from AT&T or driving them to sell off they sold off the Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment gaming division for about $4 billion. That's billion with a B. Right. But yet they're still hanging on to the IP itself. So they're selling off the gaming division, but they're still going to generate revenue from the brands like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones and Lego and that kind of stuff, which their DC has kind of restructured its distribution deal. There's been a lot of talk about DC being shuttered and sold, and I even saw a story as far back as a year ago that if you look at the balance sheet for AT&T, things like Batman and Wonder Woman, they're not listed under DC, they're listed under lifestyle brands. So they put more value in the selling of the T-shirts and the action figures than they do the actual comic books themselves. And I guess there's an argument to be made for that. But at the same time, what is Batman and Green Lantern? What are they without their comic books?
Right. Quick comment from Dwayne. He says, what about the HBO Green Lantern show? Yes, I totally forgot about that. It's about the Lantern Corps, actually, to be exact. So it won't actually be Green Lantern Hal Jordan by himself, is my understanding, but it is produced by Berlanti as well. So that's a great point. I'm actually excited about that. I'm hoping that we don't get a Watchmen where we only get one season of it. I haven't heard much about it other than the fact that it's coming. So it's a great reminder. But you're right, Geek Boy, that, I mean, how do you keep comic book characters alive without their comic books? I mean, it costs so much money to create a movie, a TV series with an actor and stuff. I mean, I know it can't be the same amount of money to produce a comic book. I guess we have to also go back to the article in the sense that they say they would be closing up the publishing house. So does that mean they would just be eliminating physical comic books, or will we still be getting electronic comic books?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
So Dwayne, or if anyone's out there have heard any of that information, please chime in and stuff. So Absolutely. It's kind of interesting because I'm not familiar enough to understand that when they say a publishing house closing that down, does that mean just that physical comic books, or does that include the digital stuff as well? So I'm sorry if I keep looking off and just make sure we don't miss any comments and stuff.
Well,
so.
Robbie Richter's joined. Hello there, Robbie. How are you doing?
Hey, Robbie.
So yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't know if that means they're just going to switch to a completely digital platform, but because you've got to pay artists, you've got to pay writers, and at the same time, everybody was kind of under this misconception that because the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I know I'm jumping ship because we're talking about DC, but because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is making a tons of money, comic book shops are not. Correct. And part of that is because a lot of the stories that are being dropped in modern comic books aren't resonating with people. You talk to people that own comic book shops, people that are coming in are like, "Hey man, do you guys have in the back issues? Do you have a graphic novel of Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America with the Winter Soldier?" They want the classic stories that Marvel's now adapting. They don't want the new stuff. So
correct.
To me, what I see is like, I can guarantee you when Joker opened that we saw an uptick of sales of The Killing Joke.
Yes.
Things like that. So
it's the movies that are getting people interested in the books, but they don't want to invest in the books with the new storylines. They want to know something that they already have some familiarity with, and I don't think that would drive fans to invest and build a collection like I used to do. And my older brother did, and I know some of our other constituents that follow us have developed over the years. I just don't see the investment there, especially with some of the streaming services, like with Marvel and DC, that if you pay for their streaming service, you get digital versions of almost every copy. Yeah. So it becomes down to
you're still going to have someone to create that content moving forward. Yeah. But So but I don't know. I'm sorry to keep talking over you, but it just shows a lack of support for the comic book shops that have sold all this stuff for these guys for years. I know.
I mean, with all this in mind and stuff, and this is actually talking about DC. We don't know exactly what's going on in the Marvel world and their comic books and stuff. But I mean, hearing this with AT&T, yes, there will always be a Batman movie, toys, memorabilia, and all that stuff. But the selling of their publishing house that gives us the comic books would I think almost truly be the death of DC, period, unless someone can right the ship on their movies. They do great with the animated stuff and everything, but they're gonna have to solve their movie issue and not try to catch up to Marvel, but start building their story, kind of like what they've done with the CW and stuff. They did that phenomenally, and basically, I think that Marvel hasn't even touched them on story building and arc building like they have on TV. So it's just weird that what they can seem to do on TV so well, they can't transplant that over to movies, and then whatever Marvel does so well on the movies, they can't seem to get it on TV. I just don't get it. I don't understand.
I know. I was actually thinking about that earlier, is because I knew. Well, I mean, I'm just not going to lie. We're not making this up. I knew what we were going to talk about tonight, and it's so ironic, especially that Marvel can't get their TV right, because they basically run their movie cinematic universe like a TV show. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kevin Feige's the showrunner. You have individual directors for the individual films that are treated like episodes, and you have a story group that puts. I mean, to me, it's like, why can't you do that on the small screen? Much like we watch a DC animated movie and go, just do that, just do that. DC live action people,
just do it live action people. Dwayne actually came in and he said that's physical and digital. So basically, the closing of that publishing house for AT&T would actually eliminate all of that. So.
Well, there's also, I think the article also said that they would license the characters, to other places to use them. So basically, they would get a licensing fee. I don't know if I want Batman being used by Marvel.
Right.
I don't know if I want that. I don't want. If I want a Marvel comic, I'll buy. DC and Marvel have two separate ways of doing things. You're never. I mean, the closest thing we've gotten well, the closest thing we used to have in Marvel to Batman would be Daredevil. Now I would say the closest thing we have is probably Moon Knight.
Yes.
But again, and do we need a Superman in a universe that's got a Captain Marvel?
Right.
I don't know, man. I think that's a bad move.
I know. Well, that's another thing is that Marvel and DC have created characters of pre-existing characters for so long. I don't think. Well, I mean, they could probably do it, but again, I think there would still be the mindset that, this should just be, like you said, a Moon Knight story, not a Batman story. Or, right. There's also what's his name, Superion, that is in Marvel. It's like it's who's like Superman. There's just there's Swamp Thing, and then there's also what's the other one? I can't remember his name, but so I mean,
Man Thing. Are you talking about
Man Thing? Yes, Man Thing, and then there's Swamp Thing, which are supposed to be the same characters. There's just so much.
So Jason Parker's comment.
I did. Well, why don't we take that as an opportunity to transition to the last topic of the evening, and that would be, and please do not, unfollow us for any of this.
This is not all right. We are reporting the news only.
Exactly.
There is the last article we're going to talk about was posted at comicbook.com, which is owned by CBS. And I point that there's a reason I'm pointing this out. And that is, and the person who wrote this article is someone named Kofi Outlaw. Tell me that's a pen name. Probably because I wouldn't want anyone knowing my real name if I wrote an article like this.
Oh yeah,
and the article was fairly well reasoned. I mean, but that Disney, wait for it, should remake, dramatic pause, the original Star Wars trilogy.
Woo.
They should remake.
You heard Rizzo.
I know. No, he's so. I posted this article thinking, this will get a laugh. It got more than a laugh. There's been a lot of people comment about this, and again, the person made some good points. Is that we still have the original Star Wars movies. They're not going anywhere. That kind of thing, and that the prequels are kind of reboots, and to be fair, George Lucas has been jacking with these movies for years.
I know.
Okay, but. I mean, you and I are old enough to remember when Episode 4 came out. It was not Episode 4,
right?
It was just Star Wars, and it wasn't until the re-release before Empire that they added the Episode 4 stuff,
right?
So, but no, I think remaking the Star Wars trilogy would be like someone trying to remake The Godfather. It's just it's loaded with folly. What do you think?
I have to give it to the writer of the article. He makes some valid points. I guess what really kind of landed it for me is that we do have actors that are so close to what Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher all look like. I mean, his character was Sebastian Stan as Luke Skywalker, and you kind of put the pictures side to side, and it's like, wow, that's pretty dang close and everything. Then you also have got Billy Lord taking over for her mother, which you couldn't ask for a better casting there. And then you got Donald Glover for Lando. Jason.
Dang it, I was going to take a drink too.
I know. Jason just posted, Disney can do whatever the hell they want. It really doesn't matter because it will only be considered an homage, kind of like Family Guy or Robot Chicken.
Wow.
All right. And then, so I am not a fan of this selection, but Eldon, is that how you pronounce his name? For Han?
Oh, yeah. Alden Ehrenreich. Yeah.
Alden, sorry.
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and we don't need to beat that horse to death anymore, but I was not a fan of his performance as Han Solo. I didn't buy it and stuff. So, but apparently, according to the article, there is a small fan following of this actor for that character. So be it and stuff. So,
well, I have a better idea. Why don't we just write a new original Star Wars trilogy and cast these people in it?
Exactly. I mean, we don't have to edit the original content to tell a story. I mean, there's so much stuff that happened in between that why couldn't Sebastian Stan still be Luke Skywalker? And he's, we pick up after episode 6, and you fill in all these gaps before we got to 7, 8, and 9.
Yes, maybe explain the First Order. Maybe how to do that.
How do we get there? I mean, love to see how Luke built up his Jedi order and see it crumble around him.
Tragedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, what better story is like you see in all this positivity, and he seems to be working towards a goal, and but you already know it's like, man, this is all going to fall apart. But if they have the writers and the ability to do it, building the suspense and drama and this hope that, man, you really hope this isn't supposed to end in tragedy, but it does. But
I think what I'm seeing is by reading this article, I guarantee you this, as I said earlier, comicbook.com is owned by CBS, who has been making a lot of these very same points recently. Well, you still have the original Star Trek. It didn't go anywhere. I mean, they've been remaking Star Trek for several years now to mixed results. Right. And I think I would not be surprised if this article was nothing but a trial balloon to see how people responded to it. Also, there's a lot of things. It also acknowledges the fact that Disney thinks something needs to be done with Star Wars to change its direction. They're acknowledging that for the most part, The Mandalorian and the last season of Clone Wars notwithstanding, the last 3 films, or excuse me, the last few films they've done have not been universally well received.
Right. We got a few comments from the.
Go ahead.
So let's join. So Jason came through. Sprout. They've proven their ability to produce a well-established franchise into the ground, established franchise into the ground, a la episode 7, 8, and 9. So I think that was a typo. I'm quite sure he was trying to run it into the ground.
Yeah.
Laura came back with no remake. No, John. No. Laura, yes, explain the First Order, etc. Yep. Jason came back again. Just do Mandalorian or offshoot character arcs. Again, that's what we've always talked about. This galaxy is very large, very vast. Why can't we have new characters? Heck, I would love to see some character development on Maz.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think that'd be great. Dwayne came through. How about some more stories that don't have anything to do with the Kardashians of the Star Wars galaxy?
That's Cardassians. No. Now I'm mixed up.
You're mixed up. It's not Cardassians. So.
Crossing the street.
You are, man. You are. Hey, you're just mixing all the genres and stuff like that.
I'm mixing it all.
So no, I agree with, as we've talked about this and in the comments we've had, is like there is no reason to go back and remake 4, 5, and 6. I'm not worried about, well, it'll be easier to build the continuity. We get better action scenes, we'd have better fights and everything. And I don't think that is necessary. 4, 5, and 6 are fine the way they are. They fit. Yes, there are some things like, Obi-Wan, old Ben, like, I don't remember ever owning an R2 unit. I'm like, really? 1, 2, and 3? You don't remember this little blue-white droid is just lurking you around all the time?
He didn't own R2.
So, dude, he was on the ship with him. He saved him.
He did not own him. You got to parse these words. Everything's true from a certain point of view. Weren't you paying attention?
This is true. Oh, my God. You're a Jedi for sure. I'm going to go Sith on you. But yeah, so I mean, but again, like I said, with the Mandalorians is a prime example of how to take an element of what we've gotten from 4, 5, and 6 and just go with it, run with it. There's so much more. I mean, hell, what kind of cool story would we see a young Jabba the Hutt and how he rose to develop his empire and stuff? There was just so much. Jason Barger, remake the holiday special.
Wow. I actually support that 100%.
I do support that. That would be a fun one if they could do that. But anyway.
Maybe we get Nathan Lane since Harvey Korman isn't around anymore.
There you
go. So who would take Maud's place? I don't know. Anyway, I'm really chasing a rabbit at this point.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. So.
I just think that anytime you're going to remake something iconic, originally I was going to say it would be like remaking Jaws, but I think the Godfather trilogy would be a better.
I agree. I agree. because in my sense, if you ever saw the Meg, it's just a Jaws remake, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, but nobody liked it.
Well,
Actually, it did pretty well, but yeah,
it did well. Actually, it's not a bad movie, but anyway, that's not what this is on top. This episode's about. So, but anyway, so yeah, I vote hands down that no, they don't need to remake it. Just again, like we've said on so many of our casts, take these stories, take this universe, this world, this galaxy that you have created, and just expand on it. You've got so many characters to chase down and have fun with, and I don't see why we have to keep rehashing the same story over and over and over again.
Well, hell, J.J. Abrams did that with the sequel trilogy.
This is true.
Speaking of that, so again, I look at these articles, and like I say, I'm quite certain that this is a trial balloon of some kind.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, the rumors coming out of Lucasfilm today, this is like hot off the press today. I must stress, this is a rumor. Okay, this has not been verified. It's not, no one can independently verify it. But there is I think that we've talked before that there is a bit of a power struggle going on inside Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau's group. Mm-hmm. Because The Mandalorian was so well received, and some of the movies that she's been in charge of have not been, and so there's essentially a power struggle going on in there. And one of the ideas that was floated was they were going to quote unquote fix Star Wars by using the veil of the Force. And the veil of the Force was something that's in Star Wars Rebels, and it's essentially it's a vergence in the Force that opens up to alternate dimensions and alternate realities. And I think they said they're going to use that to basically say that 7, 8, and 9 took place in an alternate reality.
That is horse bleep. That is horse bleep.
You're not a fan of that, are you?
No. Wow.
Yeah. So they're basically gonna do the sequel trilogy what they did to all the books, which is I'll make it legends, make it a legend, reduce Rey to a campfire story.
Jessica just joined us, and Jason came back with Meg as Jaws 3D. Jason Barker then came back 2 sharks underwater environment sucked, and then like I said, Jessica just joined us in time for us. I guess just really in time for us to wrap it up. So
yeah, I guess so. Tell you what, you're keeping us on track a lot better than I am tonight. So why don't you take us out?
So, hey, I'm just trying to keep the sound on over here. All right, you're putting a lot of pressure on me.
Well, you've done a 70% good job of that.
Thanks for that support, man. Appreciate that.
Hey, who needs enemas, right?
Exactly. You give me one every night. So. Anyway, so yeah, really appreciate
Jason Barker's last comment on the air.
Yeah, we cannot read that, but it's in the comments and you will see it. So anyway, we really appreciate everyone's tuning in tonight and giving us your comments. We really enjoy everyone's interaction. This is so much more fun when we get everyone to join in and conversate with us. Why is Bob Newhart going to wake up and Star Wars was all a dream? Jason Barker's killing us over here, man. Where were you about 40 minutes ago? We needed all this comedy relief. We're not that funny.
Well, if 40 minutes ago you couldn't have heard it.
Oh, wait a minute. I had that. That was 50 minutes ago, bro. Anyway, so again, like I said, we appreciate everyone following us. We appreciate the comments and the interaction. We try to get its content out to you guys every week. We appreciate your patience in these times when maybe the content's just not as interesting, and we don't want to put out anything that's not fun and enjoyable. I think it'll come through our podcasts as well. So really appreciate your guys' patience with that. So again, you can always find us here at Facebook at Fanboys918, or you can go over to our YouTube channel and check out a book. And that's such an old joke that a lot of people don't even know. So, but if you ever went to Will Rogers, our morning show, that would be funny to you. Yeah. But anyway, you go to youtube.com and search for Fanboys918, follow us, click us, like our channel, and click that bell to be notified that we got new content up. Jason Barker, love you, buddy, like in a man love way. This guy's killing me.
I didn't get no love. I didn't even get a like.
No one like you, man. No one like you. But anyway, back to things. So I am the IT Geek with
The Geek Boy.
and this is us signing out, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.